Minister of Business, Mr. Dominic Gaskin, in his remarks at the opening ceremony of the 12th Annual Berbis Expo, urged Berbicians to promote domestic tourism. Shanice Beckles reports.
At the opening ceremony of the Berbis Exposition and Trade Fair, Minister of Business, Honorable Mr. Dominic Gaskin, in his address congratulated the Quarantine Chamber of Commerce for their success at pulling together yet another successful exposition.
I'd like to once again congratulate the Central Quarantine Chamber of Commerce for pulling off yet another Berbis Expo. It's 12th since 2005. I was here last year, and I did mention that this was an event that was gaining national recognition and that the Chamber is doing a great job of keeping it alive and growing year after year. I'd like to repeat that this year. And I know the challenges involved in organizing an event such as this. Apart from all the hard work, it costs money, a lot of money, and you have to raise that money in order to pull off the event. And in order to raise that money, you have to tailor the event to suit the mood and the needs of the sponsors and the public. And in doing so, sometimes you have to compromise on the real purpose of the event and settle for a more popular version. And I understand that reality. But I'm happy to see the people of Berbis coming out to this event, and I know that many more will be flooding this venue over the next few days.
Mr. Gaskin alluded that in all the 10 regions in Guyana, more domestic tourism should be encouraged.
It is not only Berbicians who come to Berbis Expo. People from all over Guyana come to visit Berbis Expo, and this is a form of domestic tourism which I'd like to see encouraged. Guyana is made up of 10 regions, 10 proud regions, and it's important that in each region we have activities that can attract persons from other regions to come and experience the peculiarities that give that region its unique identity. And of course, when people come to your region, they come with money and they spend it in your region and contribute to your local economy. And that's what domestic tourism is all about.
The minister expressed his dissatisfaction with our people supporting foreign products instead of promoting our own commercial products.
Anyone reading the Kaichor news over the last few days would have noticed a series of articles on the state of manufacturing in Guyana and how much we are importing into Guyana that could have been and should have been produced right here. As Minister of Business, I do not discriminate against foreign companies or foreign products. I encourage all legitimate enterprise in all its forms. But as Guyanese, we will never achieve economic success if we continue to allow our consumption to be dominated by foreign products and not put our own Guyanese products out there in other countries to compete.
He went on to say,
and this is why I want to respond to some remarks made recently by the leader of the opposition and former president, Mr. Jagdeo, who seems to have suddenly woken up with all the answers and all the solutions after spending 23 years as part of, in charge of, and behind the scenes of a government that failed to diversify Guyana's economy and left us dependent on the exports of a handful of commodities and importing everything under the sun. Our government will formulate and implement policies to reduce Guyana's dependence on primary commodities. And we will upgrade and introduce the necessary legislation to make our economy, and by extension our producers, more competitive. Mr. Jagdeo's government failed to do that. And it is because of that failure that that theme, diversification, is so important today.
Mr. Gaskin said that the economy is stabilized and expected to continue growing.
He is now saying that he believes the country is in a crisis. The country was in a crisis. And the people acted by choosing a government that is committed to the principles of good governance, fairness, and a good life for the Guyanese people. This is what we promised, and this is what we are working tirelessly to achieve. Our economy slowed from 5.2% growth in 2013 to 3.8% growth in 2014, and slid further to 3% last year. This slide has now been stabilized in spite of El Nino, which I know has hit this region very hard. The country's economy is still expected to grow by around 4% this year. Compare that to all our neighbors, Venezuela, Suriname, Brazil, Trinidad and Tobago. None of those countries are projected to achieve any growth at all this year. So while we may be experiencing challenges, our economy continues to grow.
He elaborated on the need to earn money from our natural resources and reduce our dependence on primary products.
Mr. Jagdeo is now urging our government to stop waiting on the proceeds of oil. This is someone who borrowed $200 million to build a factory that 10 years later is still waiting for enough cane to keep it grinding. We are not waiting for oil. Mr. Jagdeo may be waiting for cane, but we are not waiting for oil. We cannot wait for oil, we cannot wait for sugar, we cannot wait for gold. We must start to add value wherever we can, to create jobs and to earn money from our natural resources and reduce our dependence on primary products. It's not rocket science. And so in closing, I'd like to give a commitment that the Ministry of Business will prioritize value-added industries in all of Guyana's regions.
This year's Berbice Exposition and Trade Fair was held under the theme Promoting Entrepreneurship for a Diversified Economy. Shanice Beckers reporting for Channel 8 News.